Hi, Cool Cats. Happy Friday. Welcome to this school year's first Chapter Friday. I'm so glad that we can bring back First Chapter Friday. I know that lots of students have enjoyed it in the past. If you are new to Louisville, each Friday, or most Fridays, I read the first chapter of a chapter book that we have in our library. This year, I'm going to spice it up a little bit. Sometimes I might read picture books, sometimes I might read poetry, and I really hope to have some guest teacher readers. So, hint, hint, teachers, I would love to have some guest readers. And I know that all of our cool cats would love to see their teacher read the first chapter of a book for First Chapter Friday as well. Today, I'm excited to share our first book with you. The title is Song for a Whale, and it's written by Lynn Kelly. This is a new book in our library. It's not a new book, but it's a new book to our library. I read it on Sora last year, and I fell in love with it, and that's why I wanted it to be our first book for this school year. The main character of the story is a little girl named Iris. She is 12 years old, and Iris is deaf. Deaf means you cannot hear. So she can't hear at all. And so deaf people sometimes communicate through sign language, and you're going to find out a little bit more about her deafness in this story. So let's jump in and then we'll talk a little bit more after I read the first chapter. So, Song for a Whale by Lynn Kelly. And I absolutely love the dedication page. It's dedicated for everyone who's ever felt alone. So, I bet being deaf makes you kind of feel alone because you can't hear what others are saying, and especially if you're a deaf person around a lot of hearing people. So, I really like that dedication. Chapter 1. Until last summer, I thought the only thing I had in common with that whale on a beach was my name. I sat with Grandpa after collecting shells and driftwood scattered along the shore and wildflowers from the dunes. The shells and driftwood were for Grandma, and the flowers were for the whale. Grandpa had asked how school was going, and I told him it was the same, which wasn't good. I'd been at that school for 2 years and still felt like the new kid. Grandpa patted the sand next to him. Did you know she was probably deaf too? He sighed. I didn't have to ask who he meant. The whale had been buried there for 11 years, and my parents had told me enough times about what happened that day. I shook my head. I hadn't known that, and I didn't know why Grandpa was changing the subject. Maybe he didn't know what to tell me anymore about school. The whale had beached herself the same day I was born. When she was spotted in the shallow waters of the Gulf, some people stood on the shore and watched her approach. My grandma ran into the cold February water and tried to push her away from the land, as if she could make a 40-ton animal change her mind about where she wanted to go. And that was really dangerous. Even though the whale was weak by then, one good whack with her tail or flipper could have knocked Grandma out. I don't know what I would have done, jumped in like she did, or just stood there. She wasn't born deaf like we were, Grandpa continued. The scientist who studied her said it just happened. Maybe she'd been swimming near an explosion from an oil rig or a bomb test. And grandfather is signing this to her. So he is using signals with his hands, sign language, to communicate this to Iris because she can't hear, so that's how he's talking to her. When Grandpa told a story, I saw it as clearly as if it were happening right there in front of me. His signing hands showed me the whale in the ocean that suddenly went quiet, swimming over there, over there, trying to find that sound again. Maybe that was why she'd been there on our Gulf of Mexico beach instead of in the deep ocean waters where she belonged. Say whales don't swim so close to shore. Only her that day. A whale can't find its way through the world without sound, Grandpa added. The ocean is dark and it covers most of the earth, and whales live in all of it. The sounds guide them through that, and they talk to one another across oceans. With the familiar sound of the ocean gone, the whale was lost in her new silent world. A rescue group came to the beach and tried to save the whale, and they called her Iris. Grandma asked my parents to give me the name too, since I entered the world as the whale was leaving it. After the marine biologists learned all they could from her, she was buried right there on the beach, along with the unanswered questions about what had happened that brought her to that shore. We lived on that coast until the summer after second grade, when my family moved to Houston for my dad's new job. Since then, we went back just once or twice a summer. The good thing about our new home was that it was closer to my grandparents. I liked being able to spend more time with them, especially since they were both deaf like me. So that means that grandma and grandpa are both can't hear as well. So that's why grandpa knows sign language and he can sign with Iris. But we all miss the beach, and I miss being around kids like me. My old school had just a few deaf kids, but that was enough. We had our classes together, we had one another. So she did have some classes with some other deaf students. That's comforting to have kids like you around. But it's different for us, Grandpa signed. Out here, there's more light, and all we need is our own small space to feel at home. Sometimes it takes time to figure out things, but you'll do it. You'll find your way. I'd wished I'd asked him then how long that would take. I bet a lot of you guys get that advice from people. Just take your time, just go slow. It'll happen, it'll work out, but you just want to know when it's going to happen, when it's going to be good again. Iris is a tech genius, and in this story, she finds out that there is another whale that is deaf. I think the name is Blue 55. Iris's mission in this story is to find a way to help Blue 55 hear a song like the other whales hear a song. If you're interested in finding out more about Iris and Blue 55, then you should check out Song for a Whale in the library. I hope everyone has a great Friday, and I will see you next week with another great first chapter. See you later, cool cats.